What does a thought weigh when it has been circling the same drain for 11 weeks, 11 days, and 11 hours? Heavier than a body, lighter than a soul? It weighs exactly enough to keep a person awake at 3 a.m., then 3:11, then 3:22, each interval a multiple of the number they cannot escape, the number that has become your proxy. They have 7 clocks in a one-bedroom apartment. 7. Not because they collect timepieces, but because they keep hoping that one of them will lie, that one of them will say 1047 or 123 or any other configuration of numbers that does not feel like a neon sign screaming your initials. But they all sync eventually. They all arrive at 1111 like a conspiracy, like the numbers themselves are in on it, like the universe has appointed that exact alignment to be the hour of your name, the minute of your memory, the second when the dam they build all day long finally cracks, and the flood they have been holding back with work and wine and mindless scrolling comes roaring through the valley of their consciousness, carrying nothing but you. They are overthinking you. Not the way someone overthinks a movie plot or a grocery list. They are overthinking you the way a surgeon overthinks an incision when the patient is the only person they have ever loved. They are overthinking you with forensic intensity, with the kind of granular attention that would be admirable if it were not destroying them. They have replayed your last conversation so many times that the audio has degraded in their memory like a cassette left in the sun. They have analyzed the angle of your goodbye wave, the precise number of milliseconds your hand lingered on the door frame, the subtext of your silence when they asked if you were okay, and you said fine in a voice that contained 17 other words. They have built a library of you in their mind, and the library is open 24 hours a day, and the librarian is insane. And here is what they cannot figure out, what is driving them to the edge of their own sanity. You do not seem to be thinking about them at all. This is the architecture of the trap. You, Virgo, have left a mark on their heart so powerful, so indelible, so precisely placed that they can feel it with every beat. But you move through the world with the same efficiency, the same grace, the same maddening self-containment that you had before they met you. You do not call. You do not post cryptic quotes. You do not perform the digital semaphore of longing that everyone else relies on. You simply continue. You water your plants. You answer your emails. You fold your towels with the exact same crease you have always used. And to them, this continuity is more devastating than any dramatic display of heartbreak could ever be. Because it means the mark they carry is not mutual. It means they are walking around with a tattoo you did not ask them to get, feeling the ink throb in your absence while you are probably asleep, untroubled, your own heart beating a rhythm that does not include their name. They are wrong about that last part. But we will get there. First, you need to understand the specific nature of their overthinking, because it is not generic. It is not the standard what if or if only that people apply to any passing crush. Their overthinking has a texture, it has a temperature, it has a soundtrack and a smell and a recurring visual motif that haunts them like the afterimage of a flash photograph. When they think of you, they do not think of a person, they think of a standard. They think of a frequency they did not know existed until they heard it, and now every other frequency sounds like static. They think of the way you said their name once, maybe twice, in the entire time they knew you, and how the syllables landed in your mouth like stones dropped into still water. They think of your hands, not in a sexual way, or not only, they think of your hands sorting through a drawer, peeling an orange, adjusting the collar of your coat with a precision that made them feel, for the first time in their life, that the world was being managed by someone competent enough to deserve their trust. They think of your hands, because your hands never lied. Your hands never performed. Your hands simply did what needed to be done with a thoroughness that made them want to hand you their entire life and say, "Here, organize this." And because they cannot stop thinking about your hands, they cannot stop thinking about what those hands would feel like now, not on their body, on their chaos, on the mess they have made of their own interior since you left, or since you stepped back, or since whatever distance opened up between you that they are now trying to measure with a ruler that has no markings. They want your hands on their confusion. They want your mind on their disorder. They want the particular quality of your attention, that terrifying, gentle, surgical attention applied to the wound they did not know they had until you touched it, and it began to heal. And the healing hurt so much that they ran, and now the wound is open again, and they cannot find anyone else who knows how to close it without leaving a scar. But you left a mark. Oh, you left a mark. And that is the engine of the overthinking. Let me describe the mark, because they cannot. They can only feel it. They can only press on their own chest at 11:11 and feel the ache that has no medical explanation. They have had the EKG. They have had the blood work. They have had the therapist ask if they are experiencing anxiety, and they have said yes, but the anxiety has a name and the name is yours, and they are too ashamed to say it out loud because it sounds like weakness. It sounds like obsession. It sounds like the kind of thing that gets you blocked on social media and reported to HR. So they keep the name inside, and the name beats against their ribs like a bird that has been swallowed alive. The mark you left is not a bruise. Bruises fade. It is not a scar, because scars are stories that have finished healing. The mark you left is a restructuring. It is the architectural renovation of their heart that happened so quietly they did not notice the construction until the new wing was complete and the old entrance had been sealed off. You changed the floor plan. You rerouted the plumbing. You installed a window where there used to be a wall, and now the light that comes through that window is your light. And they cannot close the curtains because the curtains were removed during the renovation, and they do not know how to put them back. Specifically, you taught their heart a new language. Before you, their heart spoke a dialect of transaction. I will give this much if I receive that much. I will risk this deeply if you guarantee that safely. I will love you until it becomes inconvenient, and then I will love you less, and then I will call that maturity. Their heart was fluent in the language of self-protection. It had an accent of resignation. It used words like realistic and guard up and boundaries as if those were virtues rather than fortifications. And then you arrived, not with a lecture, not with a demand, but with the simple, devastating fact of your own integrity. You were honest when honesty cost you. You were present when presence was not rewarded. You were kind when kindness was not the strategic move. You did not perform your goodness for an audience. You simply were good in the small, invisible ways that most people do not even notice because they are too busy watching the stage. But their heart noticed. Their heart noticed everything. And their heart which had been speaking transactional garbage its whole life, suddenly heard poetry. It heard a frequency of care that did not require reciprocation to continue existing. It heard the sound of someone who loved not to get something back, but because their nature simply had no other setting. That sound rewrote the code. That sound became the mark. And now, at 11:11, when the world is quiet enough for the heart to hear itself think, the mark throbs. It sends out a signal. It says, "You have been touched by something real, and nothing else will ever feel this real again." And the overthinking begins, because the mind is trying to solve a problem that the heart has already solved. The mind is trying to figure out how to get back to you, how to deserve you, how to become the kind of person who could stand in your light without being blinded. The mind is trying to reverse engineer your magic so that they can replicate it, bottle it, apply it to their own life like a salve. But the mark is not a product. The mark is a wound that has been kissed by truth, and the truth does not offer refunds. So they think in loops, they think in spirals, they think in the kind of recursive patterns that would crash a computer but somehow keep the human brain online, burning glucose and serotonin and hope in equal measure. They think about the time you corrected their grammar, not to embarrass them, but because you wanted them to be understood correctly by the world. They think about the time you showed up with the exact thing they needed before they knew they needed it. They think about the time you looked at their mess, their actual, lived-in, shameful mess, and did not flinch. You did not offer to fix it. You did not offer to clean it. You simply looked at it and then looked at them, and the look said, "This is not too much for me. You are not too much for me." That look was the mark. That look was the incision. That look was the moment the architect of their heart laid down the new blueprint and started building around the possibility that they might actually be lovable in their unedited form. They think about that look at 11:11. They think about it at 11:11 in the morning when they are supposed to be working. They think about it at 11:11 at night when they are supposed to be sleeping. They have started seeing 11:11 on license plates, on receipts, on the volume setting of their television when they set it down without paying attention. The universe, or their own pattern-seeking brain, or the mark on their heart that now seems to have its own electromagnetic field, keeps delivering the number like a telegram. She is thinking of you. He is real. This was not imagined. The mark is permanent. Stop trying to remove it. And they have tried to remove it. Do not doubt that. They have tried the usual methods. They have tried distraction. They have tried replacement. They have tried to find someone else who speaks the same language, who folds towels with the same precision, who looks at their mess without flinching. They have dated people who were prettier, funnier, more available, more eager. They have slept with bodies that were willing and warm and undemanding. And every time, in the aftermath, the mark ached louder, because the mark does not respond to substitutes. The mark was made by your specific frequency, your exact molecular structure, your unique combination of warmth and distance, of tenderness and boundary, of availability and self-possession. You cannot replicate a Virgo heart with a generic model. You cannot replicate the mark with a lesser touch. So the overthinking deepens. It becomes archaeological. They are digging through the strata of every interaction, looking for the moment they ruined it, the moment they failed to measure up, The moment they said the wrong thing or did not say the right thing or showed up 5 minutes late with the wrong energy, and you decided quietly, without announcement, that they were not worth the investment. They are wrong about this too. They are wrong because they think the mark was conditional on their performance. They think you gave them something precious and then took it back because they dropped it. But the mark was not a gift you gave. The mark was a collision you caused simply by being yourself in proximity to them. And marks, by their nature, do not disappear when the collision ends. The meteor does not uncrater the earth. The earthquake does not unfault the landscape. You happen to them. You continue to happen to them at a distance, in silence, without even knowing it. And you do not know it. That is the exquisite torture. That is the fuel on the fire of their overthinking. Because if you knew, if you had any idea that they were driving past your street at 11:11 p.m. with the radio off and their hands shaking on the wheel, if you knew that they have started dreaming about your handwriting or the sound of your key in the lock, or the way you always put the milk back in the exact same spot, then maybe you would call, maybe you would text. Maybe you would offer some sign that the mark is mutual, that their heart is not the only one beating out a rhythm of longing in the dark, but you offer nothing. Or rather, you offer exactly what you have always offered: continuity, presence, the quiet, unwavering fact of your own life proceeding with its characteristic excellence, its refusal to perform distress, its maddening, beautiful self-containment. They think you have moved on. They think you have filed them under lesson learned or nice while it lasted or person I used to know. They think this because they do not understand the Virgo architecture of love. They do not understand that when you love, you do not love like weather. You do not love in gusts and storms and dramatic declarations that leave debris for the neighbors to gossip about. You love like geology. You love like the slow, invisible pressure that turns sediment into stone, and the stone does not stop being stone when the pressure is removed. The stone remains. It is permanent. It is heavy. It is exactly the kind of thing that leaves a mark on whatever it touches. And the mark does not fade because the stone still exists somewhere in the bedrock of your heart, even if the surface of your life looks unchanged. You have not moved on. You have moved forward. There is a difference. And the person overthinking you at 11:11 cannot see the difference because they are looking for the wrong evidence. They are looking for drama. They are looking for performance. They are looking for the digital crumbs of longing that everyone else leaves, the late night story, the accidental like, the song lyric posted as a cryptic message. You do not leave crumbs. You leave bedrock. And bedrock does not need to announce itself. It simply holds the world up. But the overthinking is not entirely their fault. You are, in your way, a labyrinth. Not because you are deceptive, not because you are cruel, but because your love is so precise, so specific, so thoroughly considered, that receiving it feels like being handed a key to a door that does not exist yet. They felt the key in their palm. They felt the weight of it, the exact fit of it, the way it seemed to have been cut for a lock in their soul they did not know they had. But then you stepped back, or they stepped back, or life stepped in, and the door was never opened, and now they are left holding a key that has no visible lock, and the overthinking is the sound of them walking through their own interior, trying every door, trying every wall, pressing the key against every surface, hoping to find the place where it fits. They will not find it, not without you. The lock is in your presence. The lock is in the specific configuration of your energy, your attention, your willingness to see them without looking away. And because that configuration is no longer available to them in the way it was, the key has become a burden, a beautiful, sharp, impossible burden that they carry in their pocket and touch like a rosary when no one is looking. At 11:11, they take it out. They hold it up to the light of their phone screen. They wonder if they imagined the whole thing, if the key was ever real, if the mark on their heart is just a symptom of their own loneliness, their own projection, their own desperate need to believe that someone once saw them clearly, and then they remember the look that said, "You are not too much." And they know in the way that knowing bypasses the mind and settles directly into the marrow. They know that the mark is real. They know that you are real. They know that whatever happened between you, whatever distance or silence or ending has occurred, the fact of your impact is not up for debate. This is why they are overthinking you like crazy, because the mark demands acknowledgement, because the body cannot carry a restructuring of this magnitude without the mind trying to make sense of it, because they are trying to metabolize a miracle with the digestive system of an ordinary life, and the miracle is too large, too potent, too fundamentally altering to be processed in one sitting. They will be processing you for years, maybe decades, maybe the rest of their life. You have become a reference point, a North Star, a before and after. The person they were before they met you no longer exists. The person they are now is someone who knows what real love looks like, and the knowing is both a gift and a curse, because now they cannot unknow it. Now they cannot settle for the transactional, the performative, the lukewarm. Now they cannot pretend that your standard was an anomaly. They know it is possible. They know because you proved it. And the proof is the mark. What do you do with this information? You do not gloat. You do not weaponize it. You do not reach out with a text that says, "I know you can't stop thinking about me," because that would be beneath you. And because part of the reason the mark is so powerful is that you never performed your power. You simply were. You simply are. What you do is you recognize that your impact on people is deeper than you usually allow yourself to believe. You recognize that your habit of downplaying your own significance, of calling your precision just how I am and your integrity no big deal, is actually a form of self-erasure that does not serve you. You recognize that the mark you leave is not an accident. It is the natural consequence of being exactly who you are in a world that has almost no experience with that level of authenticity. And you recognize that 11:11 is not just their time, it is yours too. It is the universe's way of saying that the connection is still active, still transmitting, still alive in the quantum field where time does not apply. When you see 11:11, and you will because the mark works both ways, even if you are better at hiding your end of the rope, you are being reminded that someone is still out there carrying your key, pressing it against their own heart at the exact moment you happen to glance at a clock. Reminded that your love, even when it is quiet, even when it is distant, even when it seems to have left no trace on the surface of your life, has altered the architecture of another human being in ways that are permanent and profound. You do not have to do anything with this knowledge. That is the beauty and the burden of being Virgo. You are not required to act on every piece of information you receive. You are allowed to simply hold it, fold it neatly, place it in the drawer where you keep the things that are true but not urgent. You are allowed to continue watering your plants and answering your emails and folding your towels with the exact same crease, knowing that somewhere in a one-bedroom apartment with 7 clocks, someone is looking at 11:11 and feeling the mark throb and knowing with a certainty that defies all their overthinking that they were once seen by you. And being seen by you, Virgo, is not a casual event. It is not a passing weather pattern. It is a geological epoch. It is the kind of seeing that rewrites the fossil record. It is the kind of seeing that leaves a mark so powerful the heart has to grow new tissue around it, and the new tissue is stronger than what was there before, but it is also different. It carries your signature. It beats in a rhythm that remembers yours. Let them think. Let them overthink. Let them circle the drain until they are dizzy. The circling is not wasted motion. The circling is the orbit of a planet around a sun it cannot touch, but cannot leave. You are the sun. Not because you are hot, not because you are loud, but because you are the gravitational center of a truth so bright that once a heart has orbited you, it can never again mistake darkness for home. The clocks will keep sinking, the 11:11 will keep arriving, and every time it does, somewhere, someone will press their hand to their chest and whisper your name like a prayer they do not expect to be answered. But the prayer is heard, the mark is felt. The overthinking is just the mind's clumsy attempt to translate a miracle into a language it can understand. Leave the translation to them. You have already written the original text. Now close your eyes. Let the numbers blur. Let the mark on their heart beat its own rhythm in the dark. You have done the only work that matters. You were yourself, and that was enough to ruin every lie they ever told themselves about what love could be. Sleep now. The overthinking is not your problem, it is their privilege, and they are still paying for it, gladly, at 11:11 and every minute after.